Hi, I'm Dr. Donald Boomgaarden, President of St. Joseph's College, and I'd like to welcome you to St. Joseph's College, Living Our Mission. St. Joseph's was founded in 1916 and has a rich and deep history. We pride ourselves on the fact that our ideals and commitment to enriching the lives of students have not changed since we opened our doors, and that our students lead lives dedicated to service and helping others, much like the spirit of the college's founders, the Sisters of St. Joseph. We have two campuses, one in Clinton Hill, one of the most dynamic neighborhoods in Brooklyn, and one on Long Island situated near Patchogue Lakes, near the waves and the scenic East End. Thank you for joining us in this program. We will be discussing the mission and history of St. Joseph's College. The mission of St. Joseph's College is to provide a strong academic and value-oriented education at the undergraduate and graduate levels, rooted in a liberal arts tradition that supports provision for career preparation and enhancement. To speak more about this is Sister Margaret Buckley, CSJ, Educational Doctorate, former longtime academic dean and current field placement coordinator at SJC Brooklyn, and Christian Murphy, Director of Campus Ministry for SJC Long Island. Welcome to both of you. So I'm so happy to see both of you here at the same time. I don't get to see both of you on the same campus very often, Christian and Sister Margaret. And I want to talk to you today a little bit about the mission, the traditions of the college. And so I'd like to start with you, Sister, and ask you tell us a little bit about the order itself and the mission.
Thank you. The Sisters of St. Joseph were founded in France in 1650. And after being suppressed during the French Revolution, they were refounded and spread to many different countries in the world. Eventually, they came to the United States, where they were invited to work with the deaf. And the mission from the beginning was to work with whatever was the need. Originally, it was the poor, then it was the deaf, and when they moved to Brooklyn, it was largely education at the beginning. We had education from preschool to the university level. And then we branched out to healthcare, social work, pastoral care, and today, in many ways, in responding to the needs of the time, advocating for justice, working with immigrants, and concern for the environment. Mm-hmm. We've always been focused on that original idea of identifying what is needed and trying to meet that need. Mm-hmm. Because the sisters had founded several academies in the city here, they felt there was a need for a college that would be appropriate for graduates of the academy. And therefore they founded the college, St. Joseph's College, in 1916. It grew slowly but steadily and became eventually not just St. Joseph's College for women, but St. Joseph's College. It moved to branch campus first in Brentwood and then in Patchogue. Mm-hmm. However, I think we've always tried to keep in mind that mission, and in fact, if you look at the goals of St. Joseph's College, you can see echoes of the charism of the Sisters of St. Joseph. If you've ever been to an event, a formal event like graduation or an honors convocation, you've seen banners, 5 banners that represent goals of the college. Integrity, intellectual and spiritual values,
service, social justice,
social responsibility. Mm-hmm. So I think, and students do, I believe, absorb these values. We want our students to be worthy of the college's motto, esse non videre, to be, not to seem. And students somehow understand that motto, and they internalize it.
Yes.
And whenever they make speeches like valedictory addresses or whatever, they often use that motto. They often quote that motto.
It resonates with people. When I mention it, when I say St. Joseph's is the college where we say we want to be not seem to be a college. People are excited by that because that's something they want to hear. It's a really important message because there is so much superficiality in the world.
Yes.
And if there's one thing young people want, it's not that, right?
Yes.
They want depth. They want to go deeply into the subjects and go deeply into life. In many ways, that's why they're seeking us out, because they don't want to live a life of superficiality. Now, you were here at St. Joseph's for many years and held many different positions. How would you describe how the mission affected you in the work that you were doing with the students?
Well, we were always very student-centered. You know, we tried to know individual students and meet their needs. Motivate them to do the best they could be. Given the nature of the population, we have a very diverse population. And students interact readily with each other, know each other as individuals. I think it's a reflection of that love of neighbor without distinction.
Absolutely.
You know, people have said we have a welcoming atmosphere, and I've always been pleased to hear that.
I think they're absolutely right. Now, Christian, you're on our other campus.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about your role on the other campus.
So, as director of campus ministry, I have a lot of different roles. I like to say I get to wear a lot of different hats. I get to work hands-on with the students in doing various service activities, different mission-related events and things of that nature. And then I also get to work with the faculty and staff in ministering to the entire community. So I'm very grateful because I feel that the role that I have, I get to do a lot of really amazing things and that are very much linked to the mission, which is incredibly fulfilling.
You work very closely with the students, sometimes on a one-on-one basis,
Sure.
and I know that you also go on a number of special trips with them, correct?
Yeah, one of the big components of campus ministry is our mission trips and alternative breaks and different various trips of service, which have been a huge success at the college level. I've been amazed at how many students are yearning this deeper experience of traveling, educational service learning, and all of it linked back to the mission of going out and meeting a need. So a lot of times with these trips, we'll link them up with a certain need in a community. So for instance, we just came back from North Carolina. They had a severe hurricane, so we went and did some service work there. We've done work in Camden, New Jersey, which is a place of great need and great poverty. So we've gone all over, but within the moments of searching for the need and helping those, our students have found a way to make it even more than just service and the depth. I think that's been the greatest experience of it all.
Now, for the students that are watching this program, they may not be our students quite yet, but they're thinking of joining us at St. Joseph's. What would you say to them about the role of the mission of the college in their lives and how that might be of interest to them?
I would say that the role of the mission, and what's so great about St. Joseph's, is that we are really looking inward to figure out how do we service the full student. Our theme this past school year was Fully Alive in campus ministry. We develop these themes every year. And we made that theme our theme this year because we felt that our goal was to help the student understand how to live a full life, vocationally, spiritually, in that depth of we don't want you just to get a career and a job. You're gonna get that. The education you're getting here is going to set you up that we believe that you will do fine there. But what about deeper depth? So I think the big thing is that by coming to a place like St. Joe's, you have a great opportunity of finding mission in all the people you meet, and then just planting those seeds of mission in your own heart.
So in a way, what on both campuses, the activity of the educational enterprise, taking classes, attending lectures, writing papers, those are important to us, but we're trying to create the whole person.
Yes.
And so that whole person aspect is what is being met here by our mission activities, which are open and an important part of the lives of students that are Catholic and non-Catholic, correct?
Exactly, yes.
Right, we have a number of students that are not Catholic that participate in these activities.
Yes, and they provide a lot of rich depth to our Catholic identity. So for instance, when we went to Camden, 2 years ago, we brought a group of 20 students to Camden, New Jersey. And Camden, New Jersey's mission at the retreat center we went there is Romero Center Ministries, which is a tremendous group of people that are working to fix the issues in Camden. And we had a Buddhist student, we had a Muslim faculty leader, on the trip and a number of non-denominational Christians. And this is a very Catholic retreat. And I'm thinking, okay, we'll see how this goes. I really trust that this is going to work out great. They had an amazing experience. And they were so surprised by how much of the mission of Romero and the sisters were linked with what their faith was telling them too. It was so profound.
Well, I think that one of the things that our students today would have in common with the students in 1916 is that same intensity, right? That desire to go out in the world and do something special and to be around mentors and guides that are going to help them do that. So the sisters have done that for many generations. Now, Christian, you have some of the responsibility for it, although thankfully we still have a number of sisters with us. But it's an important part of our identity, who we are as a college, to have that special relationship with the whole person and to reach more deeply into them than many of our other competitors, let's say, on Long Island. So it's one of the things that sets us apart as a school, as an institution, is our desire to inculcate that real fervor into the students. Well, I want to thank both of you. This has been a delightful conversation. We have to take a quick break, but still to come, more about our mission and what makes St. Joseph's so unique with Tom Travis, Interim Provost at St. Joseph's College. Stay tuned. Welcome back to St. Joseph's College, Living Our Mission. Thank you for joining us in this segment. We'll be discussing the mission of St. Joseph's College and how St. Joseph's College mission has been one of the guiding forces of us in our strategic planning process. To speak more about this is my guest, Dr. Tom Travis, Interim Provost at St. Joseph's College. Welcome.
Thank you. Nice
Tom,
to be here.
It's great to have you here. We spend so much time with one another, of course, that a chance to sit down and actually have a conversation about something like this is a real pleasure. Because frequently we're talking about the business of the college, the various activities that the college is involved in, and this gives us a chance to talk a little bit about some of the bigger and more important reasons why we do our jobs.
Right.
For me, my experience with a sense of mission really started when I left state institutions and began to work at Catholic colleges. I worked for many years at St. Mary's College of Maryland, which is a wonderful state school. But then I began a career with the Jesuits, first at Loyola Maryland University, then Loyola New Orleans, and then the University of Scranton. And in those 15 years that I spent with them, I began to see how crucial it was to have a sense of mission, and that it was something that the students really desired, that when we talk to the students, the deeper that we get to know them, the more we understand they're looking for more than just a certificate, more than just a diploma, but they're looking to develop their entire selves, the whole person. And I know that you've had a long and very distinguished career here at St. Joseph's, and I suspect that as you started here, you were probably not as aware of the mission of the school, and that's something that grew with you as you were here. Would that be the case?
Absolutely the case. I started here really 40 years ago. I know I look a lot younger than you do, Don, but in fact I'm not. And it's really been a wonderful experience to come to the college. And I would think the thing that most impressed me about the place from the beginning, and it's continued to impress me over the years, is working with the sisters of the congregation of St. Joseph's. Just really a special group of women, and they really played an important part in my life. My mentor was the previous provost, Sister Mary Florence Burns, and she really taught me how to do my job. And she was, not only a mentor, but she was a role model. So as I've said many times, she's the person I want to be when I grow up. She's just a special person.
I think that so many of the sisters have such interesting personalities and are so intellectually acute. Certainly Sister Mary Florence, her depth of knowledge in so many areas is really quite striking.
Right.
And certainly Sister Elizabeth Hill, who was president two presidents ago here, also tremendous lawyer, tremendous legal mind, as well as a great president.
Right.
And so you see with the sisters a kind of a combination of a sense of mission with great intellectual ability.
Yes.
And I think that's very attractive to young people when they see that as in a model that yes, you can have all those wonderful things, you can be intelligent, you can be articulate, but it's even better if there's a reason for it, if it has a direction.
Right.
And that sense of mission and sense of direction is something that we try to provide to them. And I think it's an ethos really that permeates even what you do. I mean, I've had a chance to work with you now for 2 years, so I've seen, you know, as you approach your job and your position, you are certainly trying to do the very best job possible, but on a deeper level, you're trying to transform the people around you to get the best out of them, but also to help them to become who, as in the words of one of the great founders of the order, who was present at the founding of the order, Father Madai, said, to dream the dream that God dreams for them, right? The idea of finding out what is that special part of you that is going to emanate from the work that you do.
Right.
So I guess an aspect of that for us over the last year has been the development of our strategic plan.
Yes.
And this is a perfect example, right, where you can have a strategic plan which is just something that you put on a shelf and you know, it's a wonderful document, everyone looks at it, but then sets it down and moves on. But in our case, the strategic plan has to be so much more. So tell me a little bit about the process of creating our strategic plan and what you think some of the highlights are.
We really tried to make it as inclusive as possible to involve as many of our constituents as we could. It really has been a year-long process. So I'm thinking it was really almost a year ago, last May, where we first started getting the planning committee together. And the first thing we did with the planning committee was to have sort of a brainstorming session. It was an all-afternoon, Friday afternoon extravaganza, where, you know, we asked them to think about what's distinctive about the college. You know, what makes us special? What defines us as a community? And out of that, I'm going to say we got 40 or 50 ideas of what it was that was special about St. Joseph's. So then what we did is we took that, and you as the president, in consultation with the Board of Trustees and with the President's Cabinet, then you know, fleshed out 5, I think, major areas, and we referred to those as goals. And one of them had to do with enrollment management, which is admissions, and the second one had to do with academic excellence. There was a third goal which had to do with student life and transforming students. There was also a goal that spoke to using our resources wisely, and that included things like instructional technology, it included human resources, finances, fundraising. And the fifth one, which is probably most germane to today's discussion, had to do with the mission itself, defining that mission and trying to kind of figure out the best way to communicate that, both to our current populations, but also our outside communities and potential students and parents of potential students. So that's where we really, that was the structure that we developed. And then we established subcommittees, and the subcommittees formed around those 5 basic goals. And we had folks who led each of those subcommittees, and out of that, there was a lot of input from faculty, staff, students, alumni, board members in the identification of strategies that linked up to those goals. And we worked on that all through the fall. By Christmas, we took what then amounted to the semifinal version of the plan to the Board of Trustees, and they approved it. And that represented like the first phase of what we did this year.
And I think that, you know, that first phase, though, and we talked about this when we started, I asked you, what's the most effective way to do this? And you said, well, Don, there's the quick way and then there's the good way, right? So the quick way is to just simply come up with the goals ourselves and kind of announce them to the campus community and move forward. But instead, you chose to really lead a really inclusive conversation that involved students, faculty, staff, alums, and gave them the opportunity to express, you know, how they felt about the college. And through that, we kind of boiled that down into those 5 distinct areas, each of which have some pretty interesting goals and aspects set to them. As you look at those, let's say, for example, in academics, I know that in your career at St. Joseph's, you've done an incredible job reaching out to the broad spectrum of students. So at
Yes.
St. Joseph's, when we say the word student, we're not just talking about the 18-year-old first-year student, right? Tell me a
Right.
little bit about that.
Well, my background before I served in this